Forget to support the Patreon, guys. That's what helps us move along. Alright, so the poll finally got a definitive top 10 with no ties, so I jumped at the opportunity to go ahead and make this video. But before we get into the top 10, let's talk about the honorable mentions. This is everybody who got at least 2 votes in the initial poll, and although they didn't get as many votes this time to be in the top 10, they still deserve to be here as much as the last guys. Up first with 1 vote was Aya. This is the second time I've ever made Aya, using the April O'Neil figure from TMNT as the base, with added elbow and knee joints. I think it captured the Bruce Timm art style quite a bit better than the original Aya, which was made from a DCUC figure, and she did pretty well in the sawed-off run contest on Figure Realm that I entered her in. But she only got 1 vote for this poll, so she's pretty much at the bottom of the honorable mentions. There were 2 more figures that got 2 votes in this poll. First was Mega Man. I'm surprised that this actually made it this far into the running, because it's just a repaint of a pretty mediocre figure from the late 90s. Also, that face is kinda creepy. But hey, it is an official Mega Man figure that had a really crap paint job, and I fixed that up. The other 2 vote honorable mention was Devil Boner! Yes, the first time I ever made a figure based off of an actual person, the Nostalgia Critics' iconic Devil Boner persona. This figure was actually sent to Doug Walker. I hope it arrived safely. Funny thing, I actually sent him a message telling him I made the figure, and it got lost, and he never actually got it. But a couple weeks later, I got a message from Channel Awesome asking if they'd buy it off me. And I said, like, dudes, I made it for you as a gift. I was waiting for you to give me your address. So, long story short, he got it now. A couple more figures got 3 votes in the second poll. Up first was Chris Thorndike, the most hated character in the Sonic the Hedgehog franchise. And surprisingly easy to make from an Ash Ketchum. This figure was actually chewed up by my dog, my aunt's dog, when we were pet sitting, and I had to repair him, meaning I had the dubious honor of sort of making Chris twice. The other figure that got 3 votes was one that I actually like, Fierce Deity Link. This guy came together so fast because I was just so motivated to make him. Now, he was the last figure that I made in 2016, but he came out so good, I was so proud of him. I'm actually kind of disappointed that he didn't make it into the top 10, but oh well. The last 3 honorable mentions each got 4 votes. Up first was Queen Alina from Sonic Underground. This is another Sonic figure that I managed to make with one of those Mega Bloks minifigures of the Monster High characters, which is nice that we'll continue to have Sonic figures long after the Jazzwares line ends, so long as I can keep on using these things, because they match in scale. Up next was Bean the Dynamite Duck. This is the one that I made with the little bomb. He worked out pretty good. I mean, this is only the second time I made Bean, but I really think I captured his look pretty good here. Also, the fact that I didn't cut off the sock cuffs meant that this guy got to be a little bit taller. And finally, Bunnie Rabbot. This was the one made to look as close as possible to the Bunny from the original Sad AM cartoon. This is another one that I'm kinda sad didn't make it into the top 10, because I was really proud of her. But oh well. With all of that said, let's get into the proper top 10 customs of 2016. Number 10, with 5 votes, Vaati. Vaati was a personal project made from a Toon Link figure from the World of the Nintendo line. I mostly made him as part of my Hyrule Warriors kick, as a bit of a protest of the fact that Vaati didn't actually get into the roster of Hyrule Warriors, which disappointed me greatly. But I was really happy with the way this figure came out, and after I made him, I realized that the Toon Link figure is so versatile, and all the characters from the Zelda series kind of look enough alike that I could easily make him into a Tetra if I wanted to. But I decided not to, because Tetra seems like one of those characters that they would make into an official World of Nintendo figure sooner rather than later. Number 9, with 8 votes, Rouge the Bat. This was a commission figure for Sonic stop motions, and though far from the first Rouge I ever made, it was the first one that I ever did that didn't use Blaze's shoes. Instead, it used Tails' shoes, which I carved into some rather convincing high heels, which you can see in the profile image I thoughtfully included. Now the thing is, I've made Rouge enough times that I can actually start to prefer some recipes, and I think if I'm given the option nowadays, I actually wouldn't use Wave's torso on her anymore. It's just too long. It leaves Rouge looking kind of weirdly elongated, and then her legs look short. I mean, maybe if I could get some of the shoes from Blaze, so she'd have high heels, because that makes the legs a little bit longer and more proportionally matching with the longer torso. But I think I prefer the method of carving Silver's torso into a curvier shape these days. It just makes for a more proportionally sound figure, in my opinion. Number 8, with 9 votes, Sonic the Zone Cop. See the sideways image? Ah, you see what I did there, right? This was a commission figure for Electrical Geek, everyone's favorite interdimensional cop. I'm really upset that the Super Genesis wave caused us to lose this little part of the Sonic the Hedgehog continuity from the comic book, because they really were starting to develop something interesting here. Sonic was at first just used as a framing device for the Super Specials, which often explored a non-canon multiverse episode, but he was actually starting to get a really interesting part in the main comic with the conflict against Eggman Nega. It's really sad that we lost him to the Super Genesis wave, but this figure will be a permanent reminder of the storyline that never was. Number 7, with 11 votes, Rocket Metal Sonic, made for Riku Studios. Now, Rocket Metal Sonic is a weird thing, appearing only in the opening cutscene of Sonic the Fighters. And after watching that cutscene a bunch of times, I'm not even fully convinced that he's technically a character. Given the shape of his head, and the fact that the only time we ever see him he's flying into some sort of Death Egg looking thing, it leads me to think that he's just a vanity-shaped spaceship mecha. Like Dr. Robotnik just built a Metal Sonic-shaped spaceship because he thought it would be cool. I hear that through Hack you can actually play as it, but yeah, I'm pretty sure that it's a vehicle. I know a lot of people will probably contest me on that, but you know, it would be kind of pedantic to argue about it at this point. Number 6, with 14 votes, the Mecha Sonic rebuild. This was the Mecha Sonic based off of his roboticized look from the issue 39 of the comic book. Yes, I remember 6 years ago, this was one of my proudest creations, and I was kind of sad that it had fallen into such a state of disrepair in my storage box. So, I basically completely dismantled him, broke off all the old clay, and re-sculpted it with epoxy sculpt, gave it a new paint job, including some really nice panel lining thanks to my new Gundam markers, and the Mecha Sonic was completely rebuilt and ready to withstand the ages. He was given away as a Patreon raffle prize, and I'm sure he has a good home now. I'm really happy that this figure can still be appreciated all these years later. Number 5, with 16 votes, Thanos Sonic. A commission for Onyx 1. This is probably the most random thing I was ever asked to make this year. Basically, he wanted a Marvel crossover figure of Sonic the Hedgehog dressed in Thanos' costume. This was the only time I ever made a custom out of the 5-inch Generation Sonic. You know, like the one with the hollow head, because I did make Silver Sonic based off of that one, but that was the old Sonic Colors version. But I digress. I did end up having to repaint that blue hand gold because in the end he wanted the symmetrical glove look. And Thanos has been depicted with having 2 gloves, one in the same color, even if the Infinity Gauntlet was the only one that had gems all over it. But, you know, one thing I can remember is that it took 3 really thick coatings of gold paint to actually make it look convincingly metally. That was really irritating to have to do. But I think it came out okay in the end. Number 4, with 18 votes, the Super Genesis Wave Bunnie. Yes! Although the Super Genesis Wave Antoine barely made it into the first round of honorable mentions, and the Classic Style Bunnie only made it into the honorable mentions, the Super Genesis Bunnie actually made it this high onto the list, which is really cool. I'm really proud of the way that she came out, although I do remember that the neck peg on this particular silver figure was so ridiculously long that when I put Tails' head on it, it left so much neck left over that she kept on slumping over to the side because of the weight of her ears, which made it look like she had a constantly quizzical expression. I ended up having to both cut the neck down and drilling deeper into the head to make it penetrate deeper, just so that she'd keep her head straight. But, that was a thing that happened, and I'm really happy that one of my bunnies managed to make it this high up on the list. Number 3, with 19 votes, the Sonic & Knuckles Mecha Sonic. This was a commission for DLBot 2016, and a huge upset. Up until the last day of voting, this Mecha Sonic was actually at the top of the poll. I really thought that this was going to be the most popular custom of 2016. And then, in literally the last 24 hours of voting, it got bumped down to 3rd. I was really surprised. Anyway, being made from a Star Wars droid to give him a taller look, I decided to pose it next to the other 2 Sonic figures so that people could decide which one they would prefer for scale. Although, when I look at the game screen caps again, I noticed that Sonic is just about neck tall to the thing, meaning that the Jazzwares Classic Sonic actually is a better match in scale, if you're trying to match the screen caps. Number 2, with 23 votes, the second Sally I made. This was a commission for Chasing Art 2002, and it was the Sally that was made to be more resembling the comic book interpretation of her, which, as I said before, is my preferred look. Done with my favorite Sally recipe using a modified Tails head with the legs and arms of a silver figure, and a femininely carved silver torso. This is probably one of my favorite Sallys ever. Of all the Sallys I made, this is probably the closest thing to what I would call the absolute definitive version. And funny thing enough is that she's still here in my house. Chasing Art 2002, if you're watching this video, respond to my messages. I need to know your address so I can send her to you. After you pay for the remainder of the commission, of course. I mean, she's a really great Sally figure, and I don't mind keeping her around, but you did send me the silver figure, so I'm pretty sure you want it back. Alright, so with all that said, I'm pretty sure nobody's going to be surprised at what the number 1 figure of 2016 is, but here he is. Number 1, with 27 votes, E123 Omega. This was a commission for Corey Sonic Fan 22, and come on, what can I say? It's freaking Omega. Omega is a character that uses an Optimus Prime for the base toy. I mean, seriously, well, actually, technically, this wasn't Optimus Prime. This is one of his repaints. I think it was Pipes, but, it's an Optimus Prime mold still. This is, okay, here's an Optimus Prime, and I'm going to make it cooler. So, just based on on what the base toy is, has to be a sign of just how awesome this actually is. And I really, really do love the way that the Omega figures come out when made using this toy. It just looks so great. As a bonus, this one also had an interchangeable hand to include the big Omega Gatling gun. So that was a fun little addition to make. Not very often I get to make alternate accessories for my figures. So, there we go. The top 10 customs of 2016. It's been a real fun journey with all you guys, making all these toys for you, and some for myself. I have so much more planned for 2017, and I can't wait to share them all with you as I broaden my horizons into new franchises and hopefully find a place where we can actually get the Jazzwares Sonic figures because they are getting more scarce. So let's look forward to 2017 together, guys. I'm signing off.